Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the September 19th, 2019 meeting for the Post Falls Urban Renewal Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Director Fountain.
Thank you. Baltzell?
Here.
Carstensen?
Here.
Crosby?
Here.
Clemenson?
Here.
Davis? Here. Coles?
Here.
Commissioner Horn has an excused absence.
Okay, good, thank you. And that was roll call, by the way, and not a call to order, so got that straight. Okay, would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here this morning. Under ceremonies, appointments, and announcements, we will have a public hearing this morning on the 2020 closing budget for the West Seltice 2 district. There are forms in the back for anyone wishing to comment during the review of the closing budget. Please fill one out and give it to Director Fountain as soon as possible. Okay, conflict disclosure. Do any of the commissioners have anything on the agenda that they have a conflict with in any way, shape, or form? No? Okay, we're good to go. Consent calendar. Would you take us through that, please?
Sure, thank you. Good morning, Chairman Baltzell and Commissioners. Item A on the consent calendar is the commission meeting minutes of August 15th. Item B is the joint workshop minutes of August 27th. Item C is the payables for this month, totaling $11,188.67. Item D is a bank activity report, which shows total in all funds of $4,565,752.80 and accrued interest for the month of $7,704.52. Item E is the financial reports as of August 31st. Item F is the fiscal year 2020 legal services contract with Attorney Bredesen. Your approval of the consent calendar will authorize a transfer of $7,704.52 accrued interest to the general fund and transfer to the First Interstate checking account $11,188.67 for the payables. I would answer any questions.
Relative to the legal services contract, if I'm not mistaken, it's at the same rate that it has been for some time?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, any questions or comments on the consent calendar?
Mr. Chairman, I would move the approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Davis? Aye. Coles?
Aye.
Clemenson?
Aye.
Crosby?
Aye.
Carstensen?
Aye.
Baltzell?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carried. Okay, committee updates, finance and policy, Commissioner Crosby.
Committee reviewed the financial report, which we just approved, and found no problems or issues. We reconciled it with each of the various financial records. We also are working with the executive director to project a cash flow for closing. Each of our districts is closing in the next 2 or 3 years, so that we can give the city a better idea of the tax increment that the new development tax increment that they'll receive with the closing of each district. We hope to have that done in November, since we're waiting on some more accurate figures from the county treasurer's office.
Okay, thank you. District review.
Nothing for me this morning.
Okay. Communications, property, and personnel, Commissioner Carstensen.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Moving on to citizen comments. This section of the agenda is reserved for citizens wishing to address the commission regarding an agency-related issue. Comments related to future public hearings should be held for that public hearing. Persons wishing to speak will have 5 minutes. Are there any citizens wishing to address the commission at this time? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on into item 7, the public hearing. The public hearing will be held on the 2020 closing budget for the West Seltice 2 Urban Renewal District. If anyone wishes to speak and has not filled out a form, please do so now and give it to the executive director. Notice of the public hearing was published on September 5th and September 12th as required by Idaho Code Section 50-29035. Public hearing is now open.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The West Seltice 2 Urban Rural District was created in 2005 and encompasses 248 acres. The district was formed to address blight, extend public infrastructure, create employment opportunities, and address traffic improvements. Greenstone Corporation of Liberty Lake, Washington, was the proponent. The district is now the home of the Montrose community, the Advanced Thermoplastic Composites Manufacturing Plant, say that 3 times, and the Treaty Rock Corporate Center. Public improvements totaling $1.9 million in the form of sewer, water, transportation infrastructure, and others were completed, and several hundred new jobs were created. Over the 15-year life of the district, the assessed value of the properties included in the district rose from $1.7 million to $26 million. The process of closing an urban renewal district begins with the presentation of a closing budget as required by state statute. We are projecting to complete the closing process and formally close the district at or prior to its maturity date of November 5th, 2020, subject to receiving sufficient tax increment to repay the outstanding infrastructure obligations, which are currently $286,311. By law, the Urban Renewal Agency may collect increment through the year 2021, since property taxes are paid in arrears. However, our current projections are that we will be able to close the district in September of 2020 and rebate a portion of the 2020 tax increment back to the various taxing entities. Upon completion of the closure of this district, the increased taxes that have been generated by new development of approximately $400,000 per year will be returned to the city of Post Falls, Kootenai County, and the other taxing entities and increase their tax revenues in 2021 and future years. The West Seltice District will be the 4th urban renewal district to be closed by the Commission. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions regarding this presentation and the closing of this district? Okay. All right, hearing none. You didn't get any forms, did you?
I did not.
I was looking that way.
Right.
Okay. If no other questions, I'll now close the public part of the hearing and open it to commissioner deliberations and action. Commissioners, any questions or comments, especially any of the new ones?
Seems very straightforward to me.
We'll have some happy agencies within the
And
community.
the projections that Lynn talked about earlier, that should be available by November, that's the projection of what's going back, the rebating.
The rebate for 2020 is going to be around $20,000, but from 2021 on, each of the taxing entities
going directly
will receive its share of $400,000, because that's
They'll
what
get
the
all
current
of it.
tax base is now.
All right.
We'll get all of it. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, somebody like to make the resolution?
Ready?
Yeah.
Resolution 2019-05, approving the 2020 closing budget for West Seltice 2. Commissioner Crosby made a motion to approve the 2020 closing budget for West Seltice 2 and adopt resolution 2019-05, seconded by.
I'll second that motion.
Seconded by
Eric.
Eric Clemenson. Roll call vote.
It's fine.
Davis? Aye. Coles?
Aye.
Clemenson?
Aye.
Crosby?
Aye.
Carstensen?
Aye.
And Baltzau.
Aye,
Thank you.
motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay, next item under number 8, unfinished business, and number B is downtown URD update. Shelley?
Morning, Commission members. How are you?
Good.
Good.
So I'm winging it today because Bob was supposed to be here to do this presentation and he had an emergency this morning. So basically what we wanted to do is just come back and talk with you a little bit about what's going on with the downtown district. We had ULI come and give a workshop, and most of you were able to attend that workshop. After hearing kind of their conversation, and we met with them one-on-one also, we determined that it would be in the best interest of the city and the agency and the citizens of Post Falls to go back and update the 2005 City Center Plan. And so we have engaged with Welch-Comer, and they're going to give us some pricing on that. And what that'll involve is taking the 2005 plan, which still is a really well-written plan, but has some of the projects that have been completed. We'll remove those. They'll look at some of the new projects that are on that proposed list that we have for the downtown area, which includes the city center parking. There's some improvements to and remediation for the Idaho Veneer site, and improvements and remediation for the Liberty Bankers site, and also the park down there that the city acquired. Some additional street curb. The couplet is in there. There's also parking in there for north of the freeway. So we have that included. Right now we're going through that project list. I know Lynn and Diane, I'm not sure Pete may have seen it. It's about, I think, 49 million. It's very large. There's many more projects there than we'll be able to include within the district. Some of those projects, like the couplet, is included in our capital improvement plan, and it's eligible for impact fees. So when you look at the total price of that, Urban Renewal wouldn't be paying for the whole amount of it. So the 49 million is total project costs. It doesn't include any of the additional revenues such as grants or impact fees or just general fund dollars that would go towards the projects also. But we'll look at those projects, look at it including them. Welch-Comer will do a couple of public outreaches, and then we'll have some workshops and updating that plan. There's a few things in there also that probably at this point we realize just will not happen. There's some name changes to Spokane Street and stuff in there that probably aren't relevant anymore. And with the 911 system, we would not be able to do that. So, and the agency will be invited to all those meetings. And we'll still continue. It's kind of, we were working on the build out with Welch-Comer, and in order to really have them complete that in an expert manner, they need to have the 05 City Center Plan updated first. And so it's going to delay everything. We're looking at probably early spring to late spring for the adoption of that total plan to come back to the agency. So just kind of slowing things down and trying to get a little bit more public involvement, looking at things like surveys and such too. Surveys are always interesting because it seems like we don't get a high number of individuals to fill out the surveys. And so some people feel like it's really not relevant because it's such a small number. And so we're talking about that. How can we get more input on the surveys? When they did the city center parking, they actually went door to door and dropped off invitations to the people who lived down in this area. And so we may do some of that, just kind of walking door to door and hand those surveys out and try to gather more information, especially for the individuals who are living down here. We obviously have other individuals who have interest in the downtown being developed. We were able to sell 310 North Spokane Street. They came in and signed the paperwork on Tuesday. And so it is owned by the family that also owns Handy Martin Conoco. And they are looking at, they want to put a restaurant there. They're not 100% sure what kind yet, but that's what the route they're moving. They also want to invest in other areas in Post Falls. They're excited to be living here. I think they have 5 of their family members living here total in Post Falls. And they've also negotiated with Liberty Bankers over there, just looking for a small, like 1 acre parcel from them to do some additional investment here in Post Falls. So that's encouraging. I can take any questions, but we'll continue working with Diane, Lynn, and Pete on moving the plan forward, but it's going to slow down a little bit, have a little bit more public involvement.
Shelley, excuse me, do you have, I think there's a plan also to work with Welch-Comer and community members and the council and the mayor and so on into developing a vision for downtown?
So the 2005 is the vision, and I personally, when I read it, I think the vision is still very good for Post Falls and still very relevant, but they will update that, so they'll go out and see if that still is the vision for this downtown area. So that will all be part of that 2005 City Center Plan update.
Very good, very good.
Mr. Chairman, Shelley, I'm really encouraged, thank you. I think this will be very helpful in getting additional citizen input. The one question, the boundaries, are they still flexible? Because it would appear to me that we might want to extend the boundaries to include more of the enterprise zone district or the development zone district that the city has further down Seltice possibly?
You could do that. It might be a little more difficult. We'd have to go back and declare some of that area deteriorated if it hasn't already been done in another
You're right.
process. So we would have to look at that. It's definitely something we can do. And as we update and kind of solidify the vision and where we want to go, we can better answer that question. But yes, you definitely could do that. I know some of the conversations we've had, and we were weighing some of the projects yesterday, is when you look at that vision, is the city center, downtown, just this area here, or does it include the area north of the freeway? And so I think that conversation has been going on for about 3 years, and I don't know that we've 100% reached a conclusion on that. And so I think the boundaries also shrinking are something that could potentially happen before we're totally done adopting this district.
One of the things, excuse me, are you still?
No,
asking?
we're done, thank you.
When we were talking and had the presentations from ULI, that I think almost everybody was here, or not here, but at Camillon Park. One of the things that they said that as it relates to the boundaries, the initial boundaries can be large, but they can later be reduced as you fine tune the plan. And I think that's probably the direction that the city is going, and I think that we would want to see. Also, we've had conversation recently. A couple of years ago, we had what we called a 3-on-3 meeting with myself and Diane and one of the other commissioners, met with the mayor and Shelley and one other staff member, if I recall. We had, quarterly meetings, I think.
Yeah, I think we did have another, because I remember Bill Melvin would attend on occasion.
Yeah,
So,
and
yes.
it was really helpful, and in recent discussions, we're going to be starting that again, maybe more frequently, like maybe once a month, as opposed to quarterly, maybe beginning in October or November. Diane and Shelley are going to work out the scheduling, and we'll rotate people through, so not all the same people are there all of the time, but so that we can have an open discussion about what's going on, where are we right now, or what's the pluses and minuses, and is there any help needed anywhere, and just how goes it, if you will. And I think that's going to be really helpful, and having it sooner, I'm not for a ton of meetings, but having them more frequently now with this potential district coming together, I think there's more discussion to help foster understanding, and people don't go off in left field with their own thoughts about what it's going to be when they maybe been left out of some of the information. So I think that's going to be a good thing to do, and we'll try to start that fairly soon when they'll get together and do that. Some of you participated in the past, and I think it went really well. So.
And we usually try to do those. I think we were doing them either, I think it was like on Monday mornings around 8 or 9, so that
early in the week.
people can get it in, have it, and get on with your week, so.
Right. And depending upon the subject matter, we'll probably have our attorneys involved in more frequent basis, so they're having interchange and are in the flow of information. So we'll be keeping that in mind as well. So those are all good things as we move forward. I think the potential of this new district is really, really good, and it's not something that'll happen in 6 months to a year, but it will evolve over time, and if we do it right the first time, as it grows and develops, there'll be a natural influx of businesses and industries and people wanting to be part of it. So we can hopefully have the people that live here stay here, don't drive to Spokane or someplace else to work or to shop or to have dinner or whatever. So, any other commissioners I'd like to comment on any of that?
One question. What was the advice or recommendations from the ULI and the panel members that seemed to resonate most with the city staff?
It was, there was a discussion on the vision, and what was, I thought, a little bit ironic about that was that when they were doing the presentation, they didn't even think we had a vision. So there was obviously a step missed there when we even conversed with them initially. But when you look at something, here we are in 2019 going into 2020, and you have a 2005 date on something, even if it's relevant, it doesn't sound relevant to individuals. And we've got a lot of new people that have recently moved to Post Falls. They obviously had no voice in that 2005 vision. And so the discussion about getting your current citizens more involved, I think, resonated with us also. And the focus, the drill down focus piece was something that, kind of really resonated with us too, where we had all these projects kind of across a large area and talking about if you're really going to accomplish something and make something happen, you maybe need to get more of a laser focus in an area.
Rather than being diffuse.
Right.
Right.
So I think those were the kind of the top things that we talked about after that seemed to kind of resonate with us. And we want to, as the agency does, we want to do this right. We don't want to put together a district that is not successful. Post Falls has had a very long history of successful districts, and we want to continue that trend.
Right.
So.
And I think it's good as we develop the task list of things that need or want to be done with the new district, and the realization that if you have a proponent that comes in that wants a piece of property to develop within the district, and there are some infrastructure needs that they need to have, then there may need to be a shift in the order of things in order to be able to accomplish and getting that business up and running. But
yeah, and we'll use the same language they used in the tech park on those projects at the bottom, where it basically says that here's the kind of the list and how we've broken them down, but should there be a change in ownership or a change in a developer wanting to come forward, that those projects can be, the order can be moved around as the priorities change. So the language in the tech park I thought was well written, and so we'll use that similar language with this district. The one other thing I would share with you is that we did have our first filing with the SCC for an Opportunity Zone Fund. And so gentleman from Caldwell Banker, John Nichols, has filed for the first investment with the opportunity. It is a multifamily, so it wouldn't be something that Urban Renewal would be working with. But getting that finally kicked off to where people understand, he did a really nice job on his investment portfolio of explaining the benefits that the Opportunity Zone has versus a 1031 exchange, which is what I've heard from a lot of individuals is, well, I could just do a 1031 exchange. Well, there's additional benefits beyond what the 1031 has available to you. And he has a little spreadsheet in there that kind of identifies what those differences are and why it's beneficial to invest in the Opportunity Zone. So it was exciting to talk to him. He's actually out of Texas, moved up here, thrilled to be investing in Post Falls, and has already eaten at the Sawmill Grill and all those places. So he sees this as an area that's got a lot of potential.
yeah, for
That's
sure.
really exciting. Shirley, I just wanted to comment on the update of the vision, that we would be happy at the chamber to partner in any way to communicate and help with the surveys and get the voice of the business community.
thank
So
you.
maybe we could just work together to make that happen, so we get a
That
little
would be
bit more input.
fantastic, yeah, because as we know, I know everybody gets like a million surveys. Even if you go buy a hamburger nowadays, somebody wants you to fill out a survey. So, yeah, we would appreciate it. We want to get the comments from, and I know the mayor met with me last week, and he said, I know what my vision is, but he goes, I'm not sure I know what the citizens' vision is. And so getting a good touch of that would be helpful.
I think as that vision is developed, to be able to, and I know probably Washcomer or somebody like that would need to do that or make it happen for us, but to put that vision into a rendering that people physically can see, oh, that's what it's going to look like. And I know that kind of thing is somewhat spendy, but in many cases, that's the sales job that would put a vision into people's eyes that they can see and relate to. And
Diane, did I get you the 05 plan?
Not in a PDF.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
have a
will,
hard copy
as soon
of it.
as I leave here, I'll remember to do that so that you can share it with the commission. So you can kind of get an idea of this is what we're looking to update. And I think Lynn you might have been
I
on the
was,
steering
yeah.
committee of that plan, yes.
It was. Yeah, it was well done, but as you say, it was 15 years ago.
Right. It's hard to believe, how are we getting this old? I don't know.
That's right.
I don't know. Any other comments, questions of Anyone in the
I really
audience?
appreciate the effort that the city's put into this and the fact that you brought people in from the Urban Land Institute that were very helpful. I thought some of their presentations were, none of them were on point, but all of them had information that would be useful in putting this plan together. So I commend the staff for putting that together. Thank you.
And it's nice to see some of the times how those visions play out too, so that was, I thought, beneficial. Even if that's not exactly what we want for our downtown, it's nice to see what it took for them to get their vision implemented and working.
Excellent. Any other comments from any of the staff or commissioners or audience? Do you have any questions you'd like to? Okay. If
We'll make
not-
sure we reach out to Bob and get
Oh.
a survey.
Yeah.
Right, Bob? I know he'll fill it out.
You don't have one with you, do you?
I don't.
He's a good guy. He's trying hard to do a really good job by the
Yes, he
community.
is.
and-
And we
Give
appreciate
input.
Bob coming in and providing feedback to us.
Yeah. Okay. If not, thank you so very much.
Thank
for
you.
being a part of that and for winging it. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay. New business. Any new business to discuss today?
No.
Okay. Staff report and updates.
The only thing I have is that the Fourth Avenue parking lot is completed. All the landscaping and everything
Looks good.
is done. They've hydro-seeded, and it really looks nice.
Good. Yeah.
So it'll be a great addition.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Commissioner comments? Any additional comments from the commissioners? Seeing none. Chairman comments, I would just like to say I'm really happy, especially over the last couple of weeks, of the progress we've made going forward and with the city and with our own agency to be a helpmate in making this go together and as best we can and make it the best we can for our citizens, because that's what it's all about. It's for the community. So I don't have any other comments. Thank you all for serving, and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried. We're adjourned.